My boss flipped out after I quit, and now he's threatening consequences. Original post. So, I joined this small tech R&D firm about 3 years ago. The boss is a former math major who started a company in his mid-20s. Initially, he had some early successes, winning a handful of awards totaling around $13 million in the first couple of years. When I joined, there were 13 people, and the place had this weird cultish vibe. Everyone called him the leader. He was super into coaching everyone and was always giving guidance. Fine, whatever. I was skeptical, but seemed like a good opportunity. During my final interview, he even had a human psych professor, his mentor, on the line to assess me. Weird? Yes, but okay. As time went on, I realized the entire company was full of yes men who were enamored with this guy's wisdom. He was always reading business theory books, obsessed with writing, and basically thought academic skills mattered more than actual business skills. Every decision was based on something he read, not an intuition or experience. He wasn't a businessman. He was an academic who happened to start a business. Shortly after I joined, he made the lead engineer, who he had coached, into a proxy CEO while he took a backseat. Problem was, the lead engineer didn't want to lead, didn't know how to make decisions, and had to run everything by the boss anyway, who was basically AWOL. The boss was off trying to find investors, but couldn't close any deals because his negotiation skills were purely theoretical and not rooted in any real-world experience. Fast forward 2 years and we're not winning any awards. Then one day after a big demo, the boss lays off half the company. No warning, no heads up, because his advisor told him to just cut everyone loose. The next day, the boss took a 2-week vacation, leaving me, the lead engineer, and one senior programmer to do everything. Yep, seriously. We busted our butts and won a small award. But then the lead engineer quit. After 8 years of loyalty and burnout, when he told the boss he was leaving, the boss basically said, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." A few months later, the senior programmer quit too. So now it's just me running the entire technical effort. There's one other person, a program manager, who deals with customers but mostly comes to me for help with anything resembling actual work. She's been with the company since day one and balances the boss's complete lack of people skills. Oh, and yeah, she's mentioned that she thinks he might be on the spectrum. For the last 6 months, I've been doing everything, seeking new business, working on current projects, trying to market and move our products. You name it, I'm doing it. Then a few weeks ago, my boss comes to me, all weepy, and says he can't assure the longevity of my job, so if I need stability, I should find something else. We talk a bit and I say I'm still working here hard, but nothing changes his attitude. He doesn't respect me or the two of us still here, he just keeps pushing and micromanaging. Yesterday, after a 2-hour working session, he tells me he wants to coach me. He says, "You have a great ownership skills, great technical skills, great leadership skills, but you need to have better directability. I need to be able to tell you and direct you in what to do." I'm sitting there nodding along, but in my head, I'm like, seriously? There's no one left. I'm carrying this company. You aren't doing the work. Do you even know how to do the work? This guy has never worked for anyone. All his decisions come from stuff he's read, not from actual experience. Who are you to coach me when I've got 10 years of real-world grind experience? And then he goes off talking about the future success of the firm and how he needs more control. Control of the two of us who haven't quit yet. Oh, and when the other engineers quit, the boss had an emergency meeting with me and a program manager to talk about the firm's future and vision. But it was all theoretical nonsense. He started yelling at us when we asked actual questions about concrete steps we could take. He just wanted to go on about our values rather than actually build a plan. And don't even get me started on his non-stop requests for reports. He critiques every word, analyzing them to death. I'm like, dude, we could have a 2-minute conversation and I'd answer all your questions. But nope, he needs written reports. Recently, he sent me a feedback document from one of our bids. And it's like, read this and explain it to me. Dude, it's not that complicated. Just read it. Then, after I explain, he asks for more clarification and proof that I'm right. I've been here almost 3 years, doing everything, and he still doesn't trust me to understand a simple document? At this point, I'm just waiting out the interviews I'm in the later stages of because I cannot deal with this anymore. Let's read the top comments before reading the update. Okay, what? The boss is a moron and at least somewhat verbally abusive with no real leadership skills or knowledge. And yet you've stayed there for 3 years running the entire technical side and letting him run roughshod all over you? Why are you just looking for a new job now? If OP leaves, boss likely has to completely shut the company and can salvage some cash out of it. As it stands, OP has been drawing a paycheck while boss digs a deeper and deeper debt hole. They aren't making money, which means boss is building more debt the whole time. It's the long burn. Boss won't take any responsibility, but he'll be equally forked. Yeah, this is what my family's all saying. If I quit, the company is screwed. I think he would get a contractor to finish whatever work we do have and then go back to consulting. OP should start his own business and become a direct competitor. Take all the useful employees. Take all the customers. I want to. Money's the problem. And product. I can't just market myself. And I don't have the resources, money, product, idea, etc. to start anything right now. The only question I have is, why you didn't leave sooner? I don't want to keep leaving jobs. I had to stay long enough for it to not be a red flag for future employers. Now for the update 2 months later. After grinding through endless micromanagement and carrying my entire department on my back, I finally accepted a new job offer. I sent my boss an email letting him know I'd be resigning and offered 2 options. I could finish my high-priority writing project, the one I kept emphasizing, and leave by mid-month, or I could stay until the end of the month to wrap up everything, including the technical project and all the admin/business tasks I'd been handling solo. My new job was starting on the 28th, so for the past week, I've been working both jobs. My new one from 9 to 5 and the old one from 5 p.m. until midnight, or later. I documented everything down to the smallest detail, so he'd have all he needed. I didn't feel I needed to spell this schedule out to him, since the company always operated on flexible hours. He replied saying he was disappointed but understood, so I thought we were good. But then he called and let me know just how disappointed he was. Apparently, I was supposed to seek his blessing before leaving. The irony? When he hired me, he didn't even want to give me 2 weeks to leave my last role. He expected me to start the Monday after sending the offer on a Thursday. From the day I submitted my resignation until my last day, my boss was mostly absent. I kept sending him detailed update emails, asking if he needed anything else and checking in to make sure he'd be set for the transition. But he was nowhere to be found. You'd think he'd be the most engaged at this point. This is his company, and I'm literally the last technical employee left, apart from the program manager, whom he actually instructed me not to inform of my departure until the day before I left. I practically had to chase him down to ensure he was getting everything he needed. For someone who's repeatedly insisted on control and micromanaged endlessly, he was oddly disengaged and unresponsive during the only time it really mattered. So, he scheduled a handoff meeting for Thursday at 2 p.m., but I already had meetings for my new job. I suggested 4 p.m., and he got upset, questioning why I was still working if I'd already quit. I clarified that I was splitting my time for a smooth transition, and he absolutely lost it. I explained it was either this arrangement or leaving him high and dry, but he was still furious. Finally, at 4 p.m., he showed up for the meeting, his first involvement in any part of the transition. He asked for a full walkthrough of everything. I had already put it all in writing, with flawless documentation, reports, and tutorials, but I ran through it anyway. For hours, no breaks. Every single question answered, everything demonstrated. When we wrapped up, he said, we might still need some guidance on things. I started to say, for what it's worth, I never meant to, but he cut me off, saying he's seeking counsel on how to deal with his situation. He claimed nobody's ever done this to him before, then vaguely threatened to figure out what he needs to report before storming off. I'm beyond frustrated. Despite everything, I really try to leave on good terms. I busted my butt to get every last detail done, even working long hours after quitting to make sure everything was flawless for him. I kept things professional, communicated often, and documented every project and process. I was ready to put this behind me and try to reach out for a genuine conversation at the end, maybe even find a bit of closure. But instead, he had to make things difficult, ignoring all my efforts until the last second, then dragging me through a grueling 4-hour session. When I tried to wrap it up amicably, he shut me down with a vague threat and stormed off. He made a tough ending even worse, and it's a huge relief to finally be done with it. Quit immediately and let him drown. He is an insufferable prick. Hey, too late. Already handed it all off. Plus, didn't want to give him a bigger reason to accuse me of malicious intent. That is, theft, damages, etc. Unless you have a signed contract stipulating a longer notice period, there is absolutely nothing he can do to retaliate legally. As things stand, you are more than professional in giving him notice and ensuring a good handoff. Whatever counsel he is looking for will tell him the same thing. If you are in the US, most states are at will, meaning neither party needs to give any notice for the end of employment. And there is no legal consequences, outside of government jobs and some other small exceptions. Good on you for finally getting out of there, and not give them another thought and focus on your new job with hopefully a better environment. I'm concerned more that he'll try to rack up some sort of malicious activity complaint, stealing/mishandling IP, deleting stuff, etc. Obviously, my counter to that is that I handed everything off with 0 problems and went above and beyond to get it to him. But it would be such a headache. Or like, what if he finds out who I'm working for and reports me to them? No worries, his place is closing soon. Really hope he finds something to do or wins something. He has a big family, wouldn't want him to actually have financial hardship. Second update. The following morning, my ex-boss emailed me with a standard exit paperwork. In this, he included his version of the timeline of events since I resigned, an excerpt from some onboarding paperwork where I agreed not to disparage the company, work for a competing company, etc. He also claimed that I had committed to provide ongoing support as needed for the next 12 months. Finally, he wanted all the home office equipment I received when I started working returned. A mismatched chair, desk, headphones, etc. I sent back a very direct and pointed email with my version of events, detailing everything I had done for him, and firmly stated that I did not commit and will not provide ongoing support. I haven't heard back since. While coordinating dropping off my home office equipment with the program manager, she offered and coordinated with the boss for me to buy the equipment for $500, actual value close to $1,500. So I got to keep my setup for a good price. I mailed a check, sent an email confirming the agreement, and I am done. Done. To those saying I was simping too hard or shouldn't have worked so much, I take pride in my work. If I'm leaving, I won't give anyone an option to say the company failed because of me or something I did. Or worse, for my ex-boss to go to my new employer and throw me under the bus. B, ethically, I have a responsibility to do the work I'm paid to do. I was still being paid, so I did the work. C, there was a lot of strange paperwork I had to sign when I joined the company. I did more than I might have needed to cover my bases. Last story. My brother is broke and wants me to buy him a house. My brother is a lot older than me, and for the last 20 years, he has lived in a fully owned 4-bedroom house and after his divorce in several different huge rented houses. He's taken multiple foreign holidays per year, drives Audi/Mercedes level cars, owns his own business, and seemed to be doing really well. I can honestly say I didn't feel a shred of jealousy, envy, or resentment while I lived in small 2- and 3-bedroom houses in a poorer area. Maybe we went camping or took a very cheap holiday once a year. We saved up for 2 years to go to Greece that one time. I was happy with what I had, which I want to make clear was a perfectly normal standard of living for my family and my own children. I was pleased for him when he told me about his holiday plans. I'd often visit him in these houses and tell him how great they were. Super proud of him, looking up to him, thinking it was great he was doing so well. Last week, he told me he's in massive personal and business debt and will be homeless in around a month's time. This happened at a very strange time for me. I landed an amazing job 6 years ago, and through a combination of luck, years of hard work, and intelligence, I was promoted to a high level. I'm now going to receive, for me, life-changing quantities of RSUs. You can probably figure out what I'm doing. I still live in a very small house, but my wife and I aspire to a place by the sea where we can walk the dog. I also want to set up for my kids for university and prepare them for their own lives in this current cost of living crisis. He asked that I use the money I'll be receiving to buy him a nice house. He suggested I keep ownership as an investment and that he would pay rent. Now we're at the off-my-chest part. There is no way I'm using this life-changing money to continue a lifestyle for someone else that was far in excess of what I had, and that would come at the cost of that kind of life for myself and my children. I told him I can pay rent on a flat for 3 months, so he isn't homeless. But I'm not buying him a house to live in. I'm not investing in property. And even if I were, I'd never rent to family. That's a mess waiting to happen. Would I evict him if he stops paying rent? Maybe I feel guilty. Maybe I need strangers on the internet to validate me or tell me I'm wrong. I just needed to get this off my chest. I can't really talk to other family members about it because that would mean disclosing my RSUs, and that everyone would know I have money now. As for me, I plan to keep my costs within my means. I know this job could go away at any point, so I need to save while I can. It's crazy that he even suggested you to buy him a house. You've made a very generous offer to help him find a flat and pay rent. I wish I had someone offer to help me find a place and pay rent for 3 months. More than generous. Do not pay for anything, including his rent. Do not enable his behavior. He knew this situation and still chose to increase his debt over time with no plan to do anything about it. And now the plan is for someone else to cover him? He needs to learn to live within his means. This is not your responsibility. Thanks, I needed to hear that. I made the offer, so I won't go back on it, but that's it. Make sure you stick to your 3-month limit. Write it in a contract if you need it. If you can, make sure this hypothetical flat is in an area he should be able to afford. No high-rises or a penthouse. He's going to ask for 3 more months, then 3 more. My friend Lisa's father was always overspending on going out, drinking, generally being irresponsible. He borrowed money endlessly, until one day he had burned all his bridges. He asked Lisa to let him move in with her, as he was completely broke. She said it broke her heart, but she said no. She said she would let him come over to her place once a week to shower, and would bring him a bag of food once a week. She arranged to meet him on a certain bus bench at a certain time. She said it was the hardest thing she ever had to do, leaving him there. But within a few weeks, he had found an apartment complex where he could do janitor/landscaping work in return for sleeping in a storage room. He got another part-time job and started saving money. Within a year, he had gotten himself sorted out. Sometimes letting someone fail is the best thing for them. That's sobering. I don't see this coming to such a situation, but that's certainly some perspective.